on this Wednesday, February 28th, 2024. If we could take attendance, please.
Commissioner Gray,
Here.
Commissioner Godfrey,
Present.
Commissioner Hughes,
Here.
Commissioner Morse,
Here.
Commissioner O'Donnell,
He's here. I think he.
Mayor Banky,
Here.
Commissioner Dennison. Here. Commissioner Moten is absent, and Commissioner White is absent.
Thank you. And let's welcome our newest member, Commissioner Dennison. It's so good to have you here with us.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on the Planning Commission. Next up is the approval of our minutes as a consent agenda, I believe, for December 20th, 2023, the Joint Planning Commission meeting and the City Commission Capital Improvement Plan workshop, as well as the Planning Commission meeting for December 20th. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Madam Chairman, I would make a motion to approve the minutes of both the joint and the regular commission meeting.
Is there-
Second.
It's been moved and properly supported. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next up is correspondence.
No correspondence, or one correspondence, pardon me. And that's the letter you all have a copy of.
All right. And if you could just acknowledge who that was from and for what agenda item it was received.
The letter was received from Sheila McDonald. She's an area resident.
And was it for a specific?
She is opposed to the rezoning on East Michigan Avenue between Kane Street and Stiles Street.
Thank you. Any additional correspondence?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Any additions or deletions to the agenda?
No additions, no deletions.
Thank you. We will enter into our first public hearing and deliberation for zoning map amendment R1-24. We will call the public hearing to order. And is there a staff report?
Yes.
Thank you.
The City of Battle Creek is proposing a rezoning of 42 parcels located along East Michigan Avenue and surrounding side streets from the R3 Multiple Family Residential District to the T3 Neighborhood Commercial District. The consideration for rezoning began with a property owner's request to convert a convenience store currently located at 708 East Michigan Avenue to a private club usage. This conversion would have not been allowed in the existing R3 zone, which then prompted staff to review surrounding parcels for similar limitations on possible development. The proposed rezoning will create no legal nonconforming uses, as well as will not create dimensional nonconformities. It is the city's intent that the rezoning will help bolster development within the affected area, bringing better quality of life for existing residents and more diverse investment into the area's many vacant parcels. Commission will note a standalone sentence on page 7. This is an error and should be omitted. Staff provided a recommendation in the staff report for the Planning Commission's consideration, and we would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any public comments relating to our 6A zoning map amendment R1-24? Yes, if you could please come forward, state your name and your address, please, for the record.
All right, I'm going to read from my paper here. My name is Cynthia Fritz. I live at 451 Main Street, and I'm here to speak against the proposal to rezone that corridor to T3. The area needs development. I agree with that, but it needs to be discussed. It needs to be planned with the neighborhoods and other landowners as stakeholders. This has not occurred, and it is a recipe for problems that can and should be avoided. I was informed by the City Planning Department at our last MPC meeting, which was on February 1. That was a surprise. From what I learned is they closed Liberty Mart. It was bought and being developed into a biker club with no permit. They were cited, and I believe the planning department decided to look at the zoning and propose a change to accommodate this group, in my mind. How do I believe that everything will be on the up and up in my neighborhood with this change, especially looking at the available options that are listed under the T3 list? This area has been vacant and neglected for many years. Now, MDOT owns a large chunk of the vacant properties along with the Calhoun County Land Bank. To date, there has been no coordinated discussion between these parties, neighborhoods, NPC, and the city regarding the possibility and how these fit into the recent updated master plan. There are clearly too many questions, unknowns, and most importantly, a lack of intentional discussion with the affected neighborhoods, the NPC, and the landowners. Development for the sake of development is neither wise nor recommended. This typically creates contentions and can lead to unintended development outcomes that are in keeping with the city's master plan. Why is it that in other districts within the city, when there's a major proposed change like this, community engagement is done with the stakeholders? I look at the downtown area, I see it on Columbia, I see Beckley, Washington Heights. Everywhere else, there's some kind of community engagement where we can look at it and whatever master plan, along to go with the master plan. But the Post edition, nothing. We're just blindsided, as I feel. For those of you, I know a lot of you that are sitting up there, you know, I don't usually come down here because I always think by the time I get here, you've already made up your mind. But this is one step before it gets to the city commission or whatever, and I'm hoping that these changes are, that it's not approved and that we can have clearly a better discussion of what's going on in the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fritz. Are there other comments regarding our 6A zoning map amendment? Yes. Mr. Marino.
Hello, everybody. Jim Marino, 451 Main Street. I'm here as well to oppose this proposal to rezone the sector of East Michigan. And I feel it really needs to be discussed more. There hasn't been enough discussion. As was just noted, we just found out at our NPC meeting that this was being proposed. We also found out that basically the inspection department had gone to the location and found out that work was being done and what the outcome was going to become. It wasn't permitted in the R3 that it presently is. So, discussion was held internally to create the T3 situation, which permits a private club to exist. Again, stakeholders, no engagement. It's not good to do this kind of activity on a major scale. I mean, 42 parcels is not a small piece of real estate. 10, maybe 12, okay. It's a wink in an eye, but 42 parcels is a large piece. Several owners. There's the city, there's MDOT, Land Bank. There's been no concerted meeting that I'm aware of that got them along with the neighborhoods, the NPC together and said, hey, let's have a conversation about what we want this thing to look like when it grows up. We did find out at the NPC meeting that there is work from the planning department to try and obtain a grant to actually have that conversation. Well, actually, you're putting the cart before the horse in this case. If you're going to have the conversation and be earnest and honest about it, have that conversation first. Then, after that conversation, visit you guys, who will then visit the city commission next. As was noted, other areas of the city that have had major changes proposed, there's been public engagement. Right now, you have the large public engagement happening for the Beckley and Capitol area. What's that going to be redeveloped into? There's an actual consultant. They met last week, Thursday, to be exact, for the first time. and engaged. There were 13 residents there that participated. It'd be nice if that was also afforded the Post edition. So what we're asking here today basically is the same consideration. If one area of the city is going to be discussed with stakeholders in the community, do it for everybody, not just hit miss. It has to be consistent. So I urge you as a planning commission, it's not ready yet. Send it back, have that meeting first, where all the stakeholders have a conversation, and then after that's done, that's what the outcome is. Maybe it will be T3, but at least have it discussed first. Thank you. I'm gonna leave a note up here in the basket from Ms. Geloff. She too is opposed to this change. She can't be here today, she's ill. But her concern is East Michigan right now, the road condition is not conducive to extra additional traffic from, extra development. Where she sits, basically, when the heavy trucks that travel up and down East Michigan, it's part of the truck route. I mean, her house basically, gyrates on its foundation. So she's concerned that without proper infrastructure repairs being made to East Michigan first, and then having the concerted conversation about the plan, she's not, willing to go along with that concept. But I'll leave it here in the basket for you guys, for your record.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you.
Moreno. Are there other comments? Yes. Please state your name and your address.
Hello,
Hello.
I'm Sharon Goodwin, and I live on Cliff Street. Our neighborhood is just now getting a handle on noise control and gunshots and speeding cars. We now have a relationship with the police and the Rowdy Park issues. We want to remain residential. We fought against topless bars, pot shops, and now it looks like we're fighting against a motorcycle club in our neighborhood. There's no reason not to sell the vacant lots for housing, single family and duplex. Now, I understand that this Liberty store has been sold for taxes and that it is grandfathered in as a commercial property. That raises a lot of questions for me. Like, how could it be sold in its current zone type, grandfathered commercial? Why are other empty lots on Michigan Avenue even open for rezoning at all? Why did the city sell it instead of demolishing it? I think there's been a glitch here, and the zoning condition of Liberty should have been reverted back to residential with the end of the last commercial owner. That property's been vacant and fallow for years now. I think the grandfather clause expires. If any part of this residential area is rezoned for commercial use, it will open up the area for fight after fight in the future. Please, leave it residential. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Goodwin. Are there other comments regarding this particular one? Yes, ma'am.
I don't really have any comments. I just have a question, I guess, and I'm assuming this is
If
where
you could give your name and your
Sarah Hodges,
address, please.
41 Kane Street.
Thank you.
I'm just curious, if we switch everything over to commercial, what is that going to do for our properties? Is that going to change? How much is our taxes are going to go up? And what is our housing development? Now, when we go to sell for resale, are we reselling it for commercial or are we selling it for residential? Do we have to redo everything for our properties?
Thank you for your question. At this point, we're just taking comments right now, and certainly it might come up during the deliberation here, or we will have staff get back to you with the answer, okay?
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Are there other comments relating to R1-24. R1-24. Any other comments? All right. I'll ask if there are any comments from the commission on this particular zoning map to the staff. Yes, Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you. I was reading in the report here, the neighborhood outreach. Yes, there was only one meeting that was at the NPC, and I attended it. It seemed just in the about 45 minutes they discussed it, that's about all they had. It was very contentious, and a lot of questions were being answered or asked that were unable to get answered at the time. I understand the neighborhood's concern for a lot of, as I put in my life, I like to kill question marks, and there's a lot of question marks that need to be removed before we move forward on this. I myself would recommend that we move this vote to a later date due to the neighborhood concerns.
Hearing that, staff, is there any timeline that we are to be aware of when we're considering this particular?
There's absolutely no timeline at all.
Thank you. Are there other comments by?
So you're proposing?
Madam Clerk, I would agree with the Commissioner O'Donnell. There's a lot that could be taking place in the post-edition in the next few months. I think it's important that we be as transparent as possible, and if there's no timeline need, then I'd say let's put the brakes on this and make certain that we respect Jim and Cindy Marino and the other resident. If there's been any neglection of a portion of our city, it's the Michigan Avenue through here. It's embarrassing even to drive a car down there. Sets you back in time a little bit because of the number of holes that are potholes and just neglect. The state of Michigan is responsible for this portion of the road through the city of Battle Creek, and they've neglected their responsibility. So I'll be in favor of just slowing this down a little bit so we can get more participation.
Is the commission wishing to propose a motion with a particular time frame in mind?
Sure. I would like to propose that we postpone it at least 3 months with some type of report, environmental, residential input, a type of meeting, neighborhood meeting. That was longer than 45 minutes to get some more comments on the area and a little more look into the plan on Michigan Avenue, because we did rezone some more closer to downtown, and how will that fit within our new zoning changes we made recently. So 3 months should be good.
If I may, kind of add to that, if I may, a little bit.
We'll either need support to begin discussion.
Support.
Thank you. It's been moved to postpone for at least 3 months while a public hearing, public input, and other such considerations take place before bringing this before this body again. Is there any discussion to that motion?
Okay, well, just thinking about jumping in here. I think it's great just to have a workshop, to talk to the community and the city and stuff like that, and get these little things worked out. And I'm going to support the motions made, and I think it's, or seconded, I should say. We're looking at it. Gordon? Talking to you.
Oh,
Okay, I'm fine now.
you're fine. Thank you. Are there other comments on the motion? Is everybody steady? Everybody ready? Yes, ma'am.
Can I get more clarification on what you would like staff to provide in that 3 months? I hear workshop and environmental and discussion or report. So if I could get a little more clarification, we can just make sure we get everything we need to have for you before that next meeting.
Absolutely. I did hear bring as many stakeholders as possible forward. Some were mentioned during the public comments and by the commissioners here and mayor. So I think that would be part of it, as well as that outreach to the community, especially the community affected, the post-addition, to make sure that their voices are considered as this is being deliberated and proposed. And Commissioner Godfrey?
As pointed out, and we've noted many times over the years that not a lot happens in neighborhood planning councils until an issue comes up, particularly affecting that neighborhood planning council. I think that the city should coordinate with the elected leaders of that NPC and arrange a meeting that can be published so that not only members of the NPC, but the neighborhood at large, and hold it in a place large enough to accommodate it, that the city can convene some type of a communications between the neighborhood and the city.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, and I would add to that, if at all possible, to establish that somewhere within the neighborhood.
Perfect. That helps a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on the motion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Godfrey?
Yes.
Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Gray?
Yes.
Mayor Banky?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Yes.
The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you. Consider the public hearing on zoning map amendment R1-24 closed. Moving on to our next agenda item, zoning map amendment R2-24. I call this public hearing open and ask the staff if they have a report.
Thank you. The City of Battle Creek is proposing the rezoning of 131 properties in the area of West Jackson Street and West Michigan Avenue. The recommendations for rezoning this area come as there has been interest from various interested parties in developing more housing and supportive services for the surrounding area and surrounding neighborhoods. The proposed rezoning would allow more flexibility for infill development of housing and businesses where there are a number of vacant properties, as well as the flexibility for repurposing existing structures. If the rezoning is approved, it will not create legal nonconforming uses or dimensionally nonconformities. Staff provided a recommendation in the staff report for the Planning Commission's consideration, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I will now turn to any public comments regarding zoning map amendment R2-24. Are there any public comments at this time? Yes, ma'am. If you could state your name and your residence.
My name is Cody Burt. I'm representation for the property owner of 695 West Michigan Avenue. So I'd like to voice my client's support for the city's recommendation for this rezoning, which will allow for increased use of my client's parcel and the surrounding parcels as opposed to the limited, permitted, and special uses available pursuant to the current zoning classification as it sits. As the commentary in the report states, many of the parcels sit vacant, and the rezoning would encourage and allow for new businesses and development to the area, which is beneficial to the city and the community. My client is eager to make use of his parcels. Thank you.
And could you state your name once again and maybe spell your last name? I don't
Sure.
think.
Cody, C-O-D-I-E, and last name is Burt, B-U-R-T.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments regarding R2-24 on our agenda? Any other public comments? All right, hearing none, I'll move on to our commissioners. Are there any commissioner comments regarding R2-24 and any questions for our staff?
I would just like to thank everyone that's been involved with the redevelopment of these properties. I know that there's a lot of organizations that have dedicated a lot of time and effort. I think this is remarkable. I want to thank Pastor McCoy and his organization because I believe they're the catalyst behind a lot of the redevelopment. I think it's important that this planning commission support this, and we still have a lot of work to do, but it'll be a transformation that the city of Battle Creek and the urban village really needs. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Banky. Any other comments? Is there a motion on
I
this?
make a motion.
Second.
Hold on one second. I think did you have a comment?
Well, I was going to make a more complete motion
Yes, please.
with some verbiage.
Yes, you're going to need to make the motion.
Approve. We got a second over here.
There's been a motion to approve zoning map amendment R224 as presented and supported. Is there additional comments? Hearing none, if we could take a roll call vote, please.
Mayor Banky,
Yes.
Commissioner Godfrey,
Yes.
Commissioner Morris,
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison,
Yes.
Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Yes.
The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We now close the public hearing on that particular one, R2-24. Going to 6C, we are opening a public hearing on zoning ordinance amendment A1-24.
Madam Chairman, point of concern, how are we
Yes.
going to handle these various and sundry? Will we determine them by chapter? Staff will present, and then we will approve or disapprove the actions per chapter?
That would be up to you all to determine. We'd be happy to do it any way you would like.
Madam Chair, in reviewing this document, which is
It's extensive.
quite significant, my recommendation to the commission would be that we approach these per chapter and vote on them per chapter so that we have clear and distinct approval of the changes. Most of these are errors corrected or things that have been left out or things that have been updated. And I think that it would be better if we could clearly delineate by chapter our approval or disapproval.
I'm open for other suggestions from the commissioners. We have one on the floor as to how to move forward with these amendments.
I agree. We'll do it by chapter, I guess. That would make it easier.
Is there any interest in, if they are cosmetic changes, clerical, et cetera, that could be lumped, where chapters could be combined for the same similar purpose, to put those together in an amendment, in a motion, instead of like additional chapters if they're just cosmetic?
Pretty much, I think if we go chapter by chapter, I could call out the, basically, just the cosmetic changes quickly,
Okay?
if that would be helpful. What would be the best way for you to be able to follow along? I am looking at the page numbers for the online packet, but you have hardcover packets, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Are those are numbered the same as the packet here, right, online? Yes. Yes, perfect, so that would work. So if we want to start, instead of doing a brief presentation, I would be happy to do a brief like a real quick presentation. You can do the public input, and then we'll go into each one. Would that work?
Yeah, I think that works well.
Yeah,
Does
very good.
Anybody else have any other comments? Okay.
That sounds great.
All right, that would be fine.
Great,
Go ahead and
thank you.
proceed. Thank you.
All right, the City of Battle Creek is proposing some text amendments to various sections of the zoning code. This is kind of an extension of some of the changes that we've done in 2023. We are looking at corrections to be made. We did a very extensive change in 2020, and as things have changed with COVID and a lot of information that we've gotten from different residents and people trying to develop in the community, such as those that have been having to come to the city to get variances for building for a lot that's maybe half a foot smaller than what normally should be. So a lot of these things have been looked at through the last year and couple of months. So most of these changes are cosmetic in nature or made to make the code easier to read for various sections. It has also created a 6-month expiration date for site plans where they've been submitted and they do not complete the application within a 6-month period, and that usually would be something, for instance, if they submitted, we accepted the application because as far as the paperwork, it was complete, but we needed additional information from the Department of Public Works or different, they haven't provided a site plan that was clear enough, we will request this information right away. And then if that's not provided to us within 6 months of that request, the application will expire. This is very similar for building permits. We just do not have anything in the code now that would explain that. We also are proposing some changes to widths in the R3, T3, T4, and T5 district minimum widths for lots. Some of the general provision requests that we are looking at are Chapter 1260. We have a code now that is really general for, we allow up to 1,500 square feet for a shed or an accessory structure. However, in a lot where there are 2 and 3 and 4 more acres, this does not necessarily make sense, especially when we already have in the code that no more than 50% of a rear yard can be covered by an accessory structure, and no more than 30% of an entire yard can be covered by a building. So that really restricts the size of an accessory structure in a smaller lot residential district. However, in larger lot residential districts, someone could apply for a 1,500 square foot accessory structure, 2 or 3 of them, but yet they couldn't apply for a 1,700 square foot structure. So the city is suggesting that that just be eliminated and continue to use the 50 square feet maximum for the rear yard for accessory structure and the underlying building requirement, building footprint requirement, and that's usually anywhere from 20 to 40%. That also would include an increase in the accessory structure height. We have had a lot of residents coming to us and wanting to have a 14-foot high building accessory structure so that they can actually put an RV in the structure. 12 foot is the maximum right now, and that does not allow for that. So for 2 feet, we feel that it would be in the best interests of the city to allow something of that type. With that in mind, we also have just a few minor changes. We do have food trucks that we've allowed in the city for several years now. How we've been handling those food trucks is that we've been allowing them as an accessory use in the B1, B2, Industrial 1, Industrial 2, the Spark District, and those are the districts that we've allowed it as an accessory use. We do not have it in the code, and it's time that we put it in the code to make it very clear that those are the districts that we allow it. In the future, there might be more public input, especially with the update of the master plan, if we would like to do more flexibility with those or allow for food truck parks, and if we do allow for those, where would they be? But right now, we're just proposing to put the language in the code that we currently do. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for that presentation and overview. I'll ask if there are any public comments relating to 6C, the A1-24. Any public comments? Yes, Mr. Moreno. Please state your name and your address for the record.
Jim Marino, 451 Main Street. A question on the accessory buildings. The zoning board has entertained quite a few of those conversations in the past. I understand in the larger rural Southwest where they have, 2, 3 acres, that it makes sense to allow them to have, the 50% coverage. That makes perfect sense. My only concern is with an accessory building, we've seen where some of those actually develop into having homes actually within them. It's an additional living unit. And that, to me, is not what I would call an accessory building. It's an additional living unit, so it should be properly classified so that people don't come forth and say, well, it's an accessory, but in reality, it's an ADU. I have a concern about that, so please, as you're deliberating, that should be a consideration. The other item, the additional 2 feet, again, some put in an RB in there that's, much higher than, a standard situation. Perfectly understandable, but again, got to make that consideration so they're not actually putting in a situation where actually building livable space above. The RB can still get in there, but now we also have additional living space above that. So those things have always been a contention and a question that have come up. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moreno. Are there any other comments relating to this particular agenda item 6C, A1-24? All right, hearing none, then I will ask if there are any clarifying questions from our commissioners. Commissioner Godfrey?
No, none.
Oh, no?
Sorry.
All right, so we're going to go through one chapter at a time?
Great, thank you. If,
Oh, one more. Going to make a motion first.
oh, sorry.
Motion the approval of various revisions as presented to Chapter 1240 of the zoning code pursuant to Section 1281.01.
Second.
It's been moved and properly supported to approve the chapters as presented. Any discussion? Okay, we're going to go through those one at a time and approve as outlined. Chapter by chapter.
1240.
Great, thank you.
Chapter 1240, thank you.
So starting out on page 53 of your packet, we will be starting with the table for Chapter 1240. That page includes an addition in how we symbol an accessory structure requiring a special land use approval. We feel it makes it a little more clear to the reader. Accessory dwelling units. So instead of putting S as in special use / accessory structure, we're using a symbol that clearly states that accessory uses requiring special use permit approval. That would just make it a little more clear, and that is shown in the residential 1R, residential RA as residential 1B, and those are the districts that would require a special use permit to have an accessory structure.
All right, so this was for chapter 1240. Oh, is this, oh,
And then we do not see any more edits until you get down to page 56. These edits are not changes to what was proposed prior. It is just that these were inadvertently missed when they're located in the text portion of each of these districts, but it was not transferred over to the chart. And that's true for page 57, 58.
so I'm noticing there aren't the numbers on each one on our printout. Maybe
Yeah.
it's, Maybe it's on your printout from the internet, but not on ours.
Yes, okay, so let me see. I'll name the title at the left side at the top of the next page. So that would be State Licensed Child Care Home, 1 to 7 children. On that page, there are no changes. On the next page that refers to adult business, there are no changes. Next page, where the top at the left side is Brew Pub. Changes on this page are only reflective of the information that is shown in the charts that we'll see further down. These are not additional districts that we're allowing these uses. It just was not carried over from the text where it describes the permitted use and special use permits. The next page where to the left side is marijuana, adult use marijuana micro business. Same situation. These are added as they are in the narrative that we'll see down further in the 1240 section. And then the only change to this chart, if we go through the entire chart, the only change that is being added for a new use is that if you look on the page where Tree Farm is listed on the left-hand side, vehicle minor repair, or an error put in there as special use permit in the B1 and B2 district, when in the previous section, they were listed under permitted uses. So that was just corrected. Food truck was added, and so you will see on the left side the page that has food truck. Those were added as an accessory use. In the district shown. And then that completes all the changes that were made to the chart. So if you start off with the actual description of 1240.03 Green District, in error, home occupation was listed as a permitted use, and that is an accessory use, and that is also listed in the accessory use below.
All right.
And then also, if you look under accessory use, state licensed residential facility adult care, large group, that was an error left under accessory use. As you see up in the top where it says special use permit, that is added in the special use permit category. This is not considered an accessory use, but a permit or a use that would need a special use permit. And one of the changes that we have made consistently through all of the districts, the zoning districts, is the depth of all lots are required to be 100 feet minimum. And this is indicated in section 1240A7 of the zoning ordinance, and we wanted to make sure that it was also listed in this chart to make it very clear for those who are trying to develop in the city. They don't have to keep flipping back and forth between a couple sections. We also, under minimum lot area, typically a residential district uses units per acre to give you an idea of the density that can happen within that district. We already have a minimum width and a minimum depth for each district. So it has been very confusing for many of the districts or many of the people that are developing in these districts to also have a minimum lot area, because when they're looking at minimum lot area, they're thinking minimum width, 150, and minimum lot depth, so that should be a different number than, it should be the same number as what its minimum lot area is. When what we're really trying to get at through this is the number of units per acre. So in the agricultural district, we require that there be a minimum lot area. However, it really equates to 0.33 units per acre. So that was changed on all of the residential districts. In the business districts and the industrial districts, there are situations where you would not have a maximum unit per acre, but you would have a minimum lot area. So both of those are added in this, or kept in this chart, but the units per acre is provided for residential and the minimum lot area for those commercial or industrial districts where it applies. Again, there's a correction if you look at 124005 under R1, R single-family residential district. The state licensed residential facility for 7 to 13 was removed. We actually have, if you look under the permitted uses, we have 12 licensed residential adult foster care small group for 7 to 12. This is a permitted use in those districts. And if you look down, we have the same corrections that I had discussed earlier about the lot size and widths. And we do not make any changes until that would be a change from what was there before, until we get to the R3. Let's see. And under R3, staff is proposing to reduce the minimum lot width in the R3 from 60 feet to 40 feet. The R3 is a district that allows for smaller, more dense use. However, the width and the maximum or minimum lot depth is the same as single-family residential districts. So
I'm thinking we might want to just have more of a overview than page by page.
Okay, perfect.
Please.
So really, the only change with the R3 is that basically that we're proposing to reduce the minimum width from 60 to 40. We feel that that is more conducive to a higher density district. Right now, a lot of the R3s have properties as narrow widths as low as 33 feet. So there are a lot more narrow lots than there are wider lots. So we feel that that would be a good change to make. Then the next change does not happen until the T3. And that would be the same concept with the T3, is that a more narrow lot would make more sense in the T3 because it is intended to be more of a commercial lot and or not a commercial lot, more of a transitional where you could have neighborhood services, or you could have a single family, two family, three family, multiple family units. So if you were to have a single family home, you shouldn't have to have a width that is quite as large as the T3 is proposing. And I'm not sure why I'm going straight to B1. Do you have T3 and T4 and T5 in your?
Yes.
Okay.
T3, T4, T5, yes.
Okay, can I see yours? B's.
And then it goes to I1.
All right, all right. So let me get on this one to make sure I don't have T3 here for some reason. Or is that after B2? That's after B2. All right, that's what I'm looking, I'm expecting T3 to be before B. So if we go to T3, that would be the next change. And that we're proposing to change the 60-foot width to 30-foot width. And again, that is a district that is intended to be more dense than the R3. The R3 is currently 15 units per acre, and the T3 is proposed to be, or is currently 20 units per acre. Then we would go to the T4, that would be the next change, and that change is proposing to go from 60 feet to 40 feet in width. All the other would be consistent with the other changes we discussed. And then the T5, which would be the downtown area. Right now, that proposed width is 60 feet again, and we're proposing 30 feet. Right now, we have buildings in the downtown that would be in the T5 district that are currently 30 feet. So what we're saying with this, that it would be a minimum width of 60 feet, is that we would be making all of those buildings non-conforming. So if there was a fire that removed one of those buildings, then it's non-conforming, so it would have issues rebuilding. So we don't think that that was the intention, we just think it was an oversight. And there's typically, especially with a downtown that is built out, there's typically no reason to require a width that big for a downtown area. Usually, new development is probably going to be wider than that because someone is going to be building on a new lot. But again, we don't want to have a situation where we have an existing lot that's only 30 feet in between two lots that can't be built. So, and with that, that is the major changes in the Chapter 1240, along with adding the food trucks, as I had stated before.
All right. Then the motion has been made by section, by chapter, excuse me. And what we are voting on is the first chapter that's been presented, which was 1240. Can we specify sub numbers, or is that not necessary? I'm just trying to.
I don't think that's necessary.
It's not necessary
I
that
think,
we're referencing? Okay. I'm just wanting, for clarity, just wanted to make sure. Is it?
because my motion was that the various revisions as presented,
Okay.
that would,
So just do it at the end.
that would cover what she has outlined for us.
Commissioner Godfrey, Mike, if I may clarify, when you made your motion, did you list Chapter 1240 through Chapter 1281 in your motion?
Yes, pursuant to Section
Okay.
1281.1.
That's what I thought I heard. I wanted to make sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm trying to get clarity on at what point we actually take the vote. Do we listen to the entire presentation section by section and then have that vote at the end, or are we voting as she presents each section? Which one did you intend?
My intention was to do each chapter and then vote. That would keep it clear
For that particular?
for that specific chapter, because there are some variances between the different chapters.
All right,
So,
go for it. What were you going to say?
So to clarify, you're asking for a motion, second, and a vote on each chapter?
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, counsel, for the original motion that he made, we need to vote on that original motion to then do it by chapter each time.
Or to have that motion amended to clarify that that's what the intent is.
Okay. Then a motion was made and supported, and we are now clarifying that the intention is to have a motion, a second, and a vote per chapter.
Correct.
All right.
Is there anyone that has an estimated amount of time this is going to take?
I will turn that over to the staff.
This chapter was probably the most time-consuming. The rest should go fairly quick.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I think if we're all in agree in all the different chapters, and we just make one motion to agree them all, fine. Unless there's a problem with one person with one of these chapters we have, and maybe we can pull that out. So I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Well, there's a motion on the floor, so we can't change it unless this one is voted down. So we are pursuing this as a per chapter vote, because that motion has been made and supported. All right. And then we clarified what that actually meant. So right now, I will look for a motion for 1240. Yes,
You have a motion in a second, do you not?
I do.
So that's.
To vote per chapter.
Okay, so
And I think he was just suggesting to vote all as one. Is that correct? If there was no objections.
No, we already had a motion and seconded, so we can vote on it. I would think.
You can either vote on that, or if the intent is to withdraw that motion and place a new motion. So,
Okay.
Can we vote on what the motion was made, seconded?
Historically, we have, when we've had complicated rezoning motions before the commissions over a number of years, we've tried to dissect them by chapter and approve them or disapprove them by chapter so that there's clarity. That was the only intent I had in doing it by chapter, as opposed to taking the entire thing and approving it, because there are differences from within the different chapters. Whatever.
And I understand that intention. I'm hearing from the other commissioner who seconded the motion, saying that if there are no objections to it as it's been presented in the whole, can we just vote on that?
That's true.
That is what you're saying. And is there a way to amend that, amend the current motion to reflect that, or do we have to just vote this one up or down?
so the request would be for a friendly amendment to the commissioner that made the motion, whether he would be open to that request. That then would amend that particular motion. What I'm wanting to add, though, is Commissioner Godfrey motion to hear them all, chapter by chapter, 1240 through 1281. That was seconded, and you heard 1240. So we're kind of muddled in the middle here.
Yeah.
If, let's take care of this motion, either with a friendly amendment and move on, or have the vote on the motion and move on from there. I think if the motion as it stands passes, the next logical discussion motion would be as to Chapter 1240 only, and then as to Chapter 1241 only, which would be consistent with the motion that's pending before you. Now, if the pending motion is amended to whatever Commissioner Morris might be thinking or proposing, that outcome would change.
So Commissioner Godfrey, would you be open to the friendly amendment that Commissioner Morris is proposing?
No.
Then we will proceed with a vote on 1240.
Would you like a roll vote?
Yes, please.
Okay. Commissioner Godfrey?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Mayor Banky?
Yes.
Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Gray?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Yes.
The motion carries for Chapter 1240. Moving to the next chapter. When you are ready, and again, just an overview, if you could. Not page by page, please.
Yeah. 1241, purely except for one section, reflects the changes from 1240. The only change that has been made that is of significance is on page, no, I'm sorry, this one is all completely from 1240. There are no changes otherwise.
All right. And do we have a motion to approve 1241? Yes.
I make a motion to appraise various revisions as presented to Chapter 1241 of the zoning code pursuant to Section 1281.01.
Support.
Is there any further discussion? It's been moved and supported. All right, roll call vote, please, on 1241.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Godfrey?
Yes.
Mayor Banky?
Yes.
Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Gray?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Yes.
The motion carries unanimously. Next section, please. Next chapter, please.
Chapter 1251, the only changes that are made to this document are under where it's.
There is a
it's
page at the bottom.
drive-through
We do have page numbers.
There's a page at the
Yeah.
bottom
One
for
has
those.
page numbers, yeah.
I don't know what happened to the page numbers when we had some issues.
No, I do
I
believe
apologize.
that
Looks like
document was the only
Page
one that.
15, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to find drive-through restaurant.
What'd she say?
She said drive-through restaurants. I saw Family.
There
Dollar.
it is. So on page 6 of 1251, this previously referred to drive-through restaurants. We have had several situations where we had people come in talking about drive-through banks and realized we did not have anything that addressed drive-through banks. And in looking at the code, we felt that the easiest way to amend this issue was to change drive-through restaurant to drive-through business, and this was reflected through 1240 and 1241, and the table in 1240. So drive-through businesses will all be looked at in the same manner as far as how the lanes, drive-through windows, drive-through bypass lanes, they will be still looked at in the same manner, like a drive-through restaurant will always typically be looked at as a special use permit, as well as drive-through banks.
Will that allow marijuana facilities be used as a drive-through also?
We do not have anything in the marijuana code that would allow drive-through businesses at this time, so no, it would not.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good question. The next change that was made is on page, let's see. On page 15 of the 1251, there is some language under multiple family dwelling units. Under A, this language was deleted. There are two separate sentences that were deleted because one is already addressed in the 1240 section that we discussed earlier, and this is redundant language, so we wanted to remove it. In the future, if we change 1240 for some reason and forget this portion, it just makes it much more simple if it's in one area that is with all of the other dimensional requirements. This refers to minimum lot area, but it also has a phrase that we could not understand what it meant because we don't have anywhere in our code that we actually regulate the square footage of an actual building. So this sentence states, "No dwelling shall be established having an area or width less than that specified in R1, R district," which they do not have one in R1, R district. So we eliminated that. It might have been carried over for something, so that entire section was eliminated. Other than that, there are no other changes in Chapter 1251.
Is there a motion?
Yes, Madam. Motion to approve various revisions as presented to Chapter 1251 of the zoning code pursuant to Section 1281.01.
Is there a support?
Support.
It's been moved by Commissioner Godfrey, I think supported by Commissioner Hughes. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Morse?
Yes.
Commissioner Gray?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Godfrey?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Mayor Banky?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Next section, next chapter, please.
Okay. This one is Chapter 1260, and the changes that were made to 1260 include removing the language on page 2 of the ordinance that specifies 1,500 square feet as the maximum square footage of a dwelling or of an accessory dwelling, and referring to the sections that are already in the code under 1260 that refer to the requirement of meeting the 50% maximum ground coverage of a rear yard and meeting the underlying building square footage for each district that the accessory structures would be located. And I think I misspoke earlier. I talked about a accessory building not exceeding 14 feet is currently the language, and 16 feet is what we're proposing at this time. In a single-family residential district, this building can be up to 2.5 stories, so the main structure in a single-family residential district can be up to 35 feet. So this would be clearly under the maximum height of a single primary building. Other than that, that is the only change in that section.
Thank you. So for clarity, we have been speaking about 14 feet earlier. It's actually 16.
16, correct.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion for Chapter 1260?
Yes, ma'am. Motion to approve various revisions as presented of Chapter 1260 of the zoning code pursuant to Section 1281.01.
Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved by Commissioner Godfrey, supported by Commissioner O'Donnell. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, if we can have a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Gray?
Yes.
Commissioner Morse?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Godfrey?
Yes.
Mayor Banky?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Yes.
The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next chapter, please.
Do you want to make the motion first or second?
Just go ahead.
Go ahead, okay. So Chapter 1281, the only change is on page 14, and this is including a statement, any additional information requested by city staff must, this is for a site plan, must be submitted no later than 180 days from the date a complete application is filed. The applicant shall the application shall expire if the requested additional information is not received by the end of the 180-day period. Any application may submit a new application and fee.
All right. Is there a motion, please?
Madam Chair, the motion to approve various revisions as presented of Chapter 1281 of the zoning code pursuant to Section 1281.01.
Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve Chapter 1281 as presented. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, if we could have a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Gray?
Yes.
Commissioner Morse?
Yes.
Commissioner Godfrey?
Yes.
Mayor Banky?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you for your time and attention. Yes, Commissioner Godfrey.
I'd just like to compliment staff. If we thought we had a difficult time going through this packet, these people have drudged through this packet over many hours, and I do definitely appreciate the work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Godfrey, I'm sure that is echoed by the rest of the commissioners. Thank you. Next on, so we will close the public meeting for A124. And next on our agenda, go to the old business. Is there any old business?
No old business.
Thank you. Under new business, election of officers. Do I have a motion by the commission for our officers? Nominations.
I'll nominate John Hughes.
Support.
It's been motioned, there's been a nomination put forward for John Hughes. Is there any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations?
Commissioner Woodbury,
Yes.
I heard the nomination of Commissioner Hughes. I did not hear which of the three positions he was being nominated for. The Zoning Enabling Act and the Planning Commission bylaws provide for a chairperson, vice chairperson, and a secretary from among the members of the commission. Note that the Planning Commission secretary is different from the recording secretary, who happens to be Melody Carson, sitting over there.
Can we have clarity on the motion for Commissioner Hughes? What position, please?
Pardon me?
What position were you nominating Commissioner Hughes for?
Chairperson.
Chairperson.
Chairperson. There's a nomination for chairperson for Commissioner Hughes. Are there any additional nominations? Hearing none, we can vote on Commissioner Hughes for chair.
Commissioner Godfrey?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Mayor Banky?
Yes.
Commissioner Morse?
Yes.
Commissioner Gray?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
The motion carries. Congratulations, Commissioner Hughes. Now we have motions for vice chair. Commissioner Godfrey.
I'd like to nominate Commissioner McDonald.
Commissioner O'Donnell is
O'Donnell.
for vice chair. Are there any other nominations?
I'll second it.
It doesn't need a second. We're just looking for other nominations. Hearing none, we will ask for a vote for vice chair for Commissioner O'Donnell.
Just clarification, who made that nomination?
Commissioner Godfrey.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Godfrey?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Mayor Banky?
Yes.
Commissioner Morse?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Commissioner Gray?
Yes. The motion carries. Congratulations, Vice Chair O'Donnell. All right. We will now move to our public comments.
Are we going to do a motion for secretary?
Thank you.
Oh, I thought you were saying it was the,
No, this kind of a quirk with the planning commission is that the ordinance calls for the body to have a secretary by title, although essentially that person does not have to do the functions of the recording secretary.
gotcha. Okay, thank you. Heard that. Do we have nominations for secretary?
I'd nominate Lynn Gray.
I do not accept that nomination, but thank you. I do not accept that nomination, but
Okay.
thank you.
Everybody wants to pick on you.
Are there-
Commissioner Hughes, would you take secretary also? I move for Commissioner Hughes.
Second?
It's been moved. It doesn't need to be supported, just a nomination for Commissioner Hughes to be the secretary as well. Any additional nominations? Hearing none, if we could vote, please.
Commissioner Godfrey?
Yes.
Mayor Banky?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Commissioner Gray?
Yes. The motion, the nomination carries. Congratulations for doing double duty.
Pleasure to serve.
All right. Next up on our agenda is comments by the public. You've stuck around. Do you have any public comments at this time? Any public comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to comments by staff and commission members. Yes.
I'd like to make a comment that all the city helpers we have here, all the hard work they put into this, and I know when I first got the package, I went in la-la land for a little bit, but it's finally soaked in, and great job, and I know how hard it is, and many hours you put together, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commission comments? Commissioner O'Donnell?
I'd like to thank everyone for taking the vote to postpone so we can get more clarification. It's very important that we get our neighborhood, like we said, stakeholders, everyone involved with this, so thank you.
Thank you. Are there any others? And staff?
If the commission doesn't have any more, I have a comment to make, or I wanted to let you all know that the planning and zoning staff did apply for a grant. The grant is to be used for looking at issues having to do with housing. So the intent was to come to you and kind of get the specifics, like throw out some ideas that we have and get specifics from you, the Planning Commission, how you would like us to focus this grant. We will probably be coming to you at the next meeting with some information. We will need to get a request for proposal out as soon as possible. But we see that the grant, we would use a consultant to help us provide information such as demographic information, things like that, that we can provide to the neighborhoods. And we would like to focus it, and we'll have other options as well, but we'd like to focus it on working with these neighborhoods, probably to have, we were able to get a $50,000 grant to work with the different neighborhoods and look at what obstacles there are to building in these neighborhoods, whether it be zoning, whether it be financial, whether it be utilities, things of that nature, so that we can put together a document or update our master plan. We're looking at updating that in the next couple years. And because we had such a comprehensive plan done in 2018, we will be coming to you as well to make recommendations on sections we feel should be updated, and housing is certainly one of those. So this grant will help us with that portion. We also have a new program that will work with our BSNA program that will be up and running soon, that will help us provide the neighborhoods statistical information about their neighborhoods, specifically housing values in certain areas. We can key it into specific areas, age of housing, just all kinds of information that will be helpful for them as well. in hopes that we can continue to provide that throughout the years to the different neighborhood planning councils. This program also will be a very good tool for us to provide for public input. And with that being said, look forward to that. We also will probably at the next meeting have a short work session meeting for the commission, just to talk about some of the training that we've done with the information that I sent you about 4 months ago. One of the things I'd like to talk about is the Open Meetings Act at the next meeting, and as long as we do not have a huge agenda, we will use part of that meeting to have a work session for that topic.
Is there a question, Commissioner Godfrey?
I do. We got an email from you this week concerning the purchase of a Michigan Association Planning and Zoning Essentials.
We have already purchased that, and I apologize, that was not, I didn't give clear instructions, but that was the one that was sent to you. I just wanted to put it at the top of your list because I know it was sent to you so long ago.
It
But
referenced manuals. Will
Yes.
you be providing manuals to us?
we did provide manuals for you back in probably August. And if you do not have one, let me know, and I will get you another one. But that link is a online tutorial that takes you through that book.
I did that, yeah, okay.
Okay, perfect, and I'm sorry about the confusion. It was like such a long period of time that we've had other things going on that we haven't gotten to
Thank you
that.
very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. And I just wanted to close with, it's been an honor and a pleasure serving as your chair, and I look forward to continuing on the Planning Commission. Were there any other staff updates? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion to adjourn has passed. Thank you, everyone.